Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Morgan, and on my channel I like to play with makeup. So today we are going to be using some new e.l.f. products. If you watched my video yesterday, you saw that I tried to film this yesterday and did not record it. So that's what we are doing today. So I have the new e.l.f. Flawless Finish Foundation. My dogs are here. They're probably going to be making a few appearances. If you hear any weird noises, that's them. But I have this in the shade Alabaster. I have the new e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer, which I have in shade Fair Warm. And then I'm also going to try and just use as many e.l.f. products that I can just to kind of keep with the e.l.f. theme. And also just so you guys kind of know how everything performs together. So that is what we are doing today. If you missed that video yesterday, I will put that right up here for you guys. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button right down here before you leave, I would be super appreciative. Also, if you're enjoying this video, please go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And aside from that, I'm going to stop chatting and let's go ahead and jump right on in to the video. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm sorry I don't have the prettiest background today, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and prime my face with my Milani Prime Light Primer. Just put this all over with my fingers. I have quite a bit of time today, which is not usual. So I think I'm going to do quite a few steps on camera. A lot of steps that I don't always do, like my brows and stuff like that, I'm probably going to do on camera today since I have time. So grab a snack, take a seat, grab something to drink, and hope you have fun hanging out with me. All right, so we've got our primer on. I'm going to go ahead and go in with this foundation. So you can see it is a pump, which is really nice. I have come to really only like pumps and sticks at this point are my favorite kind of foundations, and I love that this is a glass jar. It makes it just like that. I try not to use plastic whenever possible, so I love that this is glass, and I love that all these shades give you the undertones. So my shade Alabaster, it says it's fair with peach undertones, so that's always kind of nice to know. I do have kind of like peachy, pinky undertones, so that makes it pretty easy to pick your color. So I'm just going to put one pump of this onto the back of my hand. As you can see, this is a thick formula, which I think I've used this 2 or 3 times now, and I've really enjoyed it both times. I will say though, because it is a pretty thick formula, I have been using my e.l.f. booster drops just to add a little bit more hydration in there. So all I do is just take one drop and add it in right there, and then I'm going to mix that up with a damp beauty blender. I'm just going to give this a little spritz of Fix Plus and mix this all together. We've got ourselves a little foundation cocktail here. I would say it doesn't say what kind of coverage it is, but I would say it's a really nice medium coverage. I didn't feel like it was, 100% full coverage, but it definitely is not a sheer coverage either. So for me, it's kind of that really nice, happy medium coverage. I've really been enjoying this foundation so far. So I'm just patting this in, pressing it into my face with this damp beauty blender, just really letting it sink and soak into the skin here. This is only one layer of foundation so far. I don't think there's any SPF in here. which, let's see. Yeah, I don't see any SPF, so shouldn't be any issues with flashback or anything like that. I haven't taken a picture of myself to 100% test it, but if there's no sunscreen, you usually won't have any issues because that's usually what's going to cause that flashback. All right, y'all, so this really sinks into the skin really nicely. This is only one coat, and I still have quite a bit of foundation left on the back of my hand, so I'm just making sure that everything is all even right now. I still need to take this down onto my neck and make sure I don't have any weird harsh lines, and then whatever is left over, I like to just go back over on the areas that tend to break up first for me, which tend to be around my chin, mostly around my chin and around my mouth, mostly because, you know, we're eating and talking and resting our hands on our face. So if I'm going to go in with a second layer of foundation, that's usually where the area that I'm going in. All right, so just working this all the way down the neck. You can even take it behind the ear. You can take it on top of the ear, just making sure everything is seamlessly and flawlessly blended together. I'm going to take this last little bit that I've got left on my hand and just work this kind of around my chin and smile lines right here. I'm not big on going over my lips with foundation. I feel like every beauty influencer does that, and I don't really understand why. So I'd love to know if you guys like to do that. All right. We are looking good here. So we are going to go in next. Got a little bit of makeup under my eyes from last night. We are going to go in next with the 16-hour Camo Concealer. So first thing I noticed about this Camo Concealer is the doe foot that it comes with is really nice and large and very, very similar to the Tarte Shape Tape. Everyone says this is a dupe for the Tarte Shape Tape. I was never that into Tarte Shape Tape, mostly because I didn't want to ever spend that much on concealer. But I will say I have been absolutely loving this concealer. I have a really hard time finding a shade that is light enough for me because I'm pretty fair. So I will say a little bit of this concealer goes a long way, which is why I'm only putting it right here under my eyes, because I'm going to start blending this out and then taking some of it onto my chin, because I've found that if I use as much concealer in all the same places that I usually use it in, it's just a little too much. So really just do it under the eyes and then use any excess concealer in any other places that I need it. So right now I'm concealing the lids. Basically, I'm prepping and priming my lids for shadow by doing this. And then on the other side, I'm going to start working this out and then taking my excess just right here on my forehead. I think I told you guys at the beginning, but I am in shade Fair Warm, and this is not the lightest shade, believe it or not. I mean, to me, I can't believe there's anything lighter because this foundation is like practically almost white. So if you wanted that like true white concealer to like cut your crease, something like that, they've got it. And it's only $5. I forgot to mention that. This concealer is $5 and this foundation is $6. This foundation is also oil-free and is a satin finish. I really like satin finishes. more than matte finishes, which can look a little bit dry, and dewy finishes can look a little bit oily. So satin finishes, in my opinion, are a really great choice. All right, you guys, so we are pretty much all blended out here. We are looking good for now. Let's go ahead and move on to our brows. I have this new ColourPop Brow Boss in Blonde that I just got, and I've really been liking it. It has a really nice, fine tip, so you can really get really precise little strokes. I did show you guys in a few videos back that I picked up this e.l.f. brow pencil, which I didn't realize it actually is a new product. It's only $10, so if you want something pretty cheap and you don't need those precise lines, this is a great option. But I've found that after the first initial use, you can't really sharpen it and get it back to that nice, precise way that it started out with when I got it. So to me, I've just kind of been using this to fill in my brows a little bit, and then I use something a little bit more detailed like this to get those nice thin lines and to kind of sculpt my brows. So I'm going to try and go somewhat quickly here because I've already been chatting quite a bit, but I'll try and hurry this along a little bit. I'm using the shade Blonde in this pencil, but I definitely could have gone darker. This might actually be a little bit light for me, but it does blend in with my brows really, really well. I've really been liking this Brow Boss pencil from ColourPop. It's only $5. It's very comparable, in my opinion, to the NYX Fine Tip brow pencil, which was my go-to ride or die for a long time. But this one's just a little bit less expensive. I think the NYX one is like $8 or $9, and this one's only $5. So this is the one that I'll be getting from now on. It's got a nice little spoolie on the other side, and I don't know, I just really like it. But by now you guys all know that I pretty much love anything from ColourPop. They've yet to let me down. I think what I'm going to do in this video, just so that it's not insanely long, is do most of my face makeup on camera, and then I'll do like my eyeshadow off camera, because normally I do opposite. Normally I do most of my face makeup off camera, and then I focus a lot of doing my eyeshadow on camera. So I think it will be a nice little change to switch it up for you guys while I have some extra time today. Okay, let's just run through this with our spoolie, get everything nice and even. And then, let's see here. I'll grab a little drink here. I've been drinking this celery juice like it's going out of style or something. What's the terminology? I forget. But I have been loving this. If you guys want me to do a video on celery juice, I know it doesn't really go with my channel, but let me know. All right, let's see. I don't know what I want to do next. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of contouring, and then we'll do a little bit of baking, and then I'll start my eye makeup off camera. So I'm going in with my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. You guys know I love this bronzer for contouring. It's just the perfect undertones. It's on tons of different skin, but especially for my skin. I use my blush brush to contour right now. I like to take my blush brush and pinch it in so that I get that more like defined line. And for contour, you want to start right above where your ear starts. So right here, and you just want to follow that cheekbone and then stop your contour right here in line with your eye. I've found that following this method for contouring really just makes your face, sorry, they're super loud, makes your face just look thinner and longer and leaner. Give it a try if you haven't already, and then let me know what you guys think. And then I like to take the excess that's left on my brush and just start warming up the forehead right along the hairline here. I like to avoid the temples with bronzer because it can kind of make your face look pulled more in, whereas you want it to be more like open and pulled back looking. So just slowly starting to warm up the forehead and working this into the hairline so that it's super flawless and seamless. And then I'm going to go back in with my bronzer and I'm going to really work this onto my jawbone, sculpt this out because I don't have a very precise jawbone. So if you're like me and you want your jawbone to be more defined, this is a great little trick. I even kind of like sculpt, you know, right behind the jawbone to get that nice shadow and just really give the illusion of having a more defined jawline. If you have a really defined jawline and you don't want it to look more defined, definitely don't do this. But you do want to make sure that you take your bronzer all the way down your neck so that everything is matching and seamless. I'm even going to put a little bit on the ears here. And then we are looking good there. So let's go ahead and I'm going to do a little bit of baking since we're doing an elf theme today. I'm going to go in with this elf translucent powder. And I'm going to it's got a little thing that says pour here. So I'm just going to pour the powder in. And then I am going to use my Morphe sponge for baking. I like to use a dry sponge to pick up the baking product. And I'm going to just start this line right underneath where our contour starts. I like to have a nice precise line for baking. So there you go, you just kind of drag it down your cheek. You can go back in with another layer. Dragging it onto the chin. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side here. This really just brightens everything up. You want this area to be nice and bright here. And then in about 5 minutes or so, we'll wipe all of this off. If you don't know what baking is, basically creating this layer of powder. So you have your skin, you have your foundation, and then you have the powder on top. So whenever you add the powder to sit on top, it bakes that foundation into your skin and really just meshes everything together and just brightens up the areas that you want to brighten. So I did go in with a little bit more of that powder, and I'm gonna go in underneath my eyes and a little bit on my nose here. I really like this Morphe sponge because I can kind of mold it to the shape that I need it to be and really get it into those hard to reach areas. Also, make sure you don't have any creasing before you set your concealer. This will set your concealer and foundation in place all day long. Gorgeous. There's also something just really satisfying about baking, just having this powder all over your face like this. So I'm also going to bake my nose, but I like to bake my nose with a little triangular sponge here. You can get these, you can get a ton of them for like $1 at Walmart. So I like to just take this flat end here, dip it into the powder, and then I like to use this to make a nice, precise line right down my nose. You can definitely use this sharp line on if you have a sponge like this. However, for some reason I feel like I can't like get a straight line with this like I can with this sponge. So now that we have done that, I'm going to go in with a little e.l.f. brush, and I'm going to go back into my Physicians Butter Bronzer, and I'm going to do a little bit of nose contouring just right outside of this line here. All right, and that's how easy nose contouring is. All right, you guys, I'm going to let this sit while I do my eye makeup off camera. We're already at 20 minutes here already, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this look off camera since I did all of my face makeup in really deep detail, and then at the end I will show you guys the finished product as well as tell you guys what I used to get the finished product. So I will be right back. All right, you guys, so here is the finished product. So for my eyes, I used my Give It To Me Straight palette by ColourPop. I used the mattes in here. I started with this matte right here, down right, all throughout my crease. And then I started deepening up my outer V with the shade Frank. And then I deepened it even a little bit more with the shade Actually. And then I cut my crease with my new, actually I didn't cut my crease. I kind of cut my crease for a halo look with my new e.l.f. concealer. And then I used my ColourPop Super Shock Shadow that I just got. If you watched that video yesterday, you saw this is the shade Set to Stun that I used yesterday. I used the other new shade that I got in my video. So you can see this shade right here is a really pretty pinky duochrome shade. It's got some blue and purple undertones in it, but it's got that really nice wet finish look that I really like. That's why I love Super Shock Shadows. And then I also used this color Actually to line my lower lash line as close to the lash line as possible. And then I went back in again with Downright right here and just kind of smoked out my lower lash line. And then for my inner tear duct and brow bone, I used this shimmer shade Up Front. So that is what I did for my shadows. I used my Innuendo palette by ColourPop. For my highlight, I mixed On Tempo and Fine Line right here, right on my cheekbones, and then I used Glad You Came down my nose right here, Cupid's bow, chin, and forehead. And then I used my new Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara that I got in my BoxyCharm FOMO box last month. I have been absolutely loving this mascara. It is super expensive though. I believe it's $24. I don't think I would pay that much for this. Again, totally worth it in the BoxyCharm box because I really paid like $4 to $5 for it. But I do hear that there is a L'Oreal dupe for this that I want to try and maybe even do a little dupe video. So keep an eye out for that. I was going to use my e.l.f. blush in Blushing to stick with this e.l.f. theme, but I found that this blush, while it is very beautiful, it's like a really nice baby pink color, but it just doesn't last very long. And I'm working today, so I really needed my blush to last, so I went in with my Milani blush in the shade Romantic Rose. Put that all over my cheeks. And then, last but not least, for lips, I used my ColourPop Lippie Pencil in Lumiere. I lined and filled with this, and then I topped it with my new Ofra liquid lipstick I got in this month's BoxyCharm. I thought that this paired really, really nicely with this Super Shock shadow here. They're both kind of metallic-y, and while I was kind of like, I don't know about that metallic-y, I swatched it and I was like, oh, that's not too bad. But when I pulled it out of here, I was like, man, that's really metallic. But I tried it anyways, and it's honestly a very, very wearable metallic. I wore it yesterday too, and I loved it. It's definitely pretty sheer. It doesn't really dry down like a lot of liquid lipsticks, so some of you might like that, some of you might not. And then I finished off with some Fix Plus from MAC. So that was my look today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you watched all the way here to the end, please let me know in the comments down below. If you have your own channel as well, please let me know. I would love to support you as well. Return the love. For my next video, I'm going to be doing, I believe, so I did my BoxyCharm unboxing video. If you missed that, I will leave that right here for you guys. But for my next video, what I think I'm going to do is a dedicated video just to using the products that came in the BoxyCharm box and let you guys know if I think it would be worth it to pay full price for those items or if I think that I will be buying them again. So that's all I have for you guys. Again, I would love it so much if you liked and subscribed. And other than that, that's all I have. And I will see you guys very soon. Thank you so much for watching, you guys.